Jason, you were involved with the Student Volunteer Army in Christchurch. What was your role in that?
Well, I started off in September on the back of a shovel, and then February did the same and moved in, did a bit of administration work, and then was running the sort of on-site mobile dispatch team. So just sending carloads of people to specific addresses to help out.
How were you coordinating that?
There was a platform, a sort of web-based tool that some of our guys built. Sort of Frankenstein together is probably a better way of putting it. And so it was all based on sort of texting and web platform in the call centre.
And so people would text in with what sort of requests or concerns?
Well, they could get in touch with us through texting, emails, phone calls, come in and see us, all sorts of ways of getting in touch with us, with requests for, firstly, help removing liquefaction. And then we had all manner of other requests as well, removing walls, helping feed cats, take down chimneys, all sorts of stuff. But mostly what we dealt with our volunteers was the shovelling, and then we passed on other requests to sort of the appropriate organisations.
That must have been a lot of information coming in. How did you rank it or sort it out?
Well, we had a call centre that got up to about 70 people, and everyone was doing what they thought was best. And that was about the extent of it, really. We once we started seeing patterns with the requests, would just say, all right, you find out what we're actually meant to do with chimneys, and someone would spend half an hour calling around finding out the best thing to do, and then we started referring all the chimney requests that way. It was a very sort of organic, sporadic development.
Kasim, you were also involved in information management following a disaster in Pakistan, the 2005 earthquake. Before we get into what you were doing in terms of information management, can you tell me what drew you to become involved?
Oh, it was just a massive catastrophe throughout Pakistan. The first day the report was that about 100 people had died. As the numbers spiked to about 1,000, 2,000, and sadly eventually it spiked up to 79,000. As in literally everyone in Pakistan wanted to help out.
What were your first ideas about helping out? What could you see that the situation needed?
Well, initially the general thought around was to spare as much as we can, which was really nice to see. As in, when we grow up in a third world country, we have a very pessimistic view of everything about philanthropy, about how much people want to contribute and all of that. To see things changing in 2005, to see people literally donating so generously, literally donating most things that they have, donating more than ever done before. So it was really heartening to see. Yeah, so the first impulse was, which was the easier thing to do, just to give as much as possible. But I guess this is something that I'm an entrepreneur by profession, and I'm always up for problem solving. So I really wanted to contribute from that domain. So we sat down, we thought up a problem that we can solve better than others can, or perhaps which can be solved by virtue of giving some money. So we came up with, we researched somehow. We were fortunate enough to be tagged along with a team from Harvard and a team from the World Bank, and we had some professors working with us as well. So we identified this problem, and that's what we got into.
And so the problem that you noticed, from what I understand, was that the infrastructure and communications damage, so the information wasn't getting to where it needed to go.
It wasn't about damage, actually. Northern Pakistan is just not developed. The government doesn't have any idea how many people live there. Most of the settlements in the mountainous regions, they don't have electricity, they don't have proper markets or supply chains, etc. They grow their own food, they leverage water streams that come from the mountain, which is very pure water, by the way. They live their own life with monthly trips to the market to get whatever they need. And so the government didn't have any idea. So it wasn't a matter of damage that caused a lack in communication. When the catastrophe did transpire, the main roads that were at times like a couple of hours away from the establishments, they got destroyed. And once these international bodies, they came in to help out, they found it really difficult to get to all of these establishments, purely due to the extent of the scale. So it was essential that these bodies, which no single body had the capacity to deal with the entire catastrophe. So it was essential that they collaborate information and whatever resources that they had. So that was the problem that we identified and wanted to solve.
So it was a matter of compiling the information that you did have and then finding the bits you didn't know about and going after that.
Yeah, kind of. But it was what we were primarily doing was we were getting these NGOs to work together as opposed to us finding information. These NGOs were already on the field. They already had certain resources. They were going and exploring areas, but they weren't sharing information amongst themselves. So, for example, if Team A explores a section of a particular area, they wouldn't come back and share that information with all of the other people come working around us. So there's a possibility that some other team might venture into the same area, not knowing about it, and we don't expect the people to tell them that we've already gotten the basic supplies, so you can just go and take this to somebody else who really needs it. So these were some of the problems that they were facing, and these were the problems that we aimed to solve, and to an extent managed to solve by setting up this information collaboration portal for them.
And this is called the Relief Information System for Earthquakes.
In Pakistan, Rice Park, yes.
What else does it do? Can you explain the system to me?
So basically what it does is it helps them collaborate information. That's the primary aim. So let's say, okay, I'm the French team that's over in Pakistan. I've camped at a certain area. Let's say Balakot. It's an area in northern Pakistan. I've camped there. So every day I have to hike a couple of hours in search of establishments of people who've been affected by the landslides or whatever, and are in need for supplies, emergency supplies. So I'll hike a couple of hours and I have to return to my base camp every day before nightfall. I will come back, but that whatever I have explored, that information is with me. So I'm building my own map. Everyone is building their own map, but nobody is building a universal map as to how many people are there. What do they need? So, for example, let's say the establishment that I discovered had about 1,000 people over there, and I only had enough supplies for 200 people. So I gave it to 200 people, and then I came back. Now, I haven't managed to reach out to other people that I don't have any more resources. So whomsoever does, please go to these exact coordinates, and you'll find 800 people who need exactly this and this. So this is what the system did. They'd come back, they'd log on to the system, they'd mark exactly on the Google map where the establishment is. They'll specify how many people there are over there. They'll specify exactly what they need. What is the critical need? What is the less critical need? And that information now transforms into a whole disaster map. Now this is very useful information in two contexts. One, for immediate relief, whereas other bodies that are working to help out, they can leverage this information and go to this location with the required amount of supplies. And secondly, in the longer run, and this is what we're working on this time around in this forum, this is what our action plan pertains to. In the longer run, this information, as this disaster map builds up, we can research on this information and come up with best practices for specific types of disasters.
Is it still being used? I mean, the fallout from the Pakistan earthquake?
No. It was used for the first couple of years, and once the rehab processes finished, and also the Harvard team went back, and the World Bank team went back, and the team that was from my university and my team, people went for PhDs and etc. And eventually this idea kind of died out. Initially it was built specifically for that catastrophe. It wasn't meant to be a generic platform. Now, 5 years later, when the floods came, it was good to see that similar startups had popped up in Pakistan. But what I really want to do is come up with a standard that can be leveraged by any country in the world who faces any sort of disaster, be it floods, be it a hurricane, be it an earthquake, whatever the disaster is. We come up with a standard that any country can leverage to respond to its disaster. And on top of that, the other benefit of this would be that once this system has dealt with one type of disaster, we'll have invaluable information at our disposal to leverage and to research upon, and to come up with best practices for those specific types of disasters.
But as yet, you haven't shared the system with other disaster zones?
Not yet. Because the idea after a couple of years, the idea the team got busy with other things and the idea kind of died out.
Something that you have brought up again at the forum, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. We came up with action plans, everyone we were divided into groups,